Good morning, everybody. Hope you had a good weekend. We'll get started here in about 2 minutes. Good morning, everybody. Get started here in a little less than 2 minutes. Give everybody a chance to dial in. Good morning, everybody. We'll get started here in a little less than or a little over a minute. Give everybody a chance to sign in or call in. Good morning, everybody. We'll get started here in a little bit less than a minute. A little bit less than a minute. Good morning, everybody. We'll get started here in about 30 seconds. Just a few seconds. In a few more seconds. Okay, we'll get started. Today I want to talk about a book that I always go back to refer to, and it's Science-Based Selling Skills. Most of us did not come into the selling profession with a degree in selling or with official training in selling, or if the official training was done, it was done by other salespeople, not people who'd actually done research and looked at what the data says. Instead, it was just like, hey, this worked for me once, you should do it, or this is what we've always done, so do it that way. So I love, and there's really in the last 20 years been a huge push in academia to study persuasion, to study selling, and I always go back. This book called Science-Based Selling Skills was um, really delved into a ton of research that was done on what has actually been proven to work by the data, not by anecdotal sales trainers saying that it works. So just as before we jump into it, though, I want to remind everybody that you can either use this QR code or you can this link, or if you go when you go into the 5Q website now, Ali has been kind enough to put a button on there where you can actually give your feedback, things that you like, things that you don't like, things that I could do better, things that when ECA does a call, they could do better, topics we're not covering that we should cover, topics that we're covering that you want to cover more. So anything like that is going to make these calls more beneficial to you. So please go in there and get those things, or get your comments and get heard on what you want, so we can make these things better for you. So 15 science-backed tips for making better sales calls. And this was from an article, but there's actually a book that it was taken from that I have. It's an awesome book, and there's a lot more than 15 science-backed tips. But let's do that. First of all, they say you should start all sales calls with a bang. Always start your sales call in style. One study tried to figure out how to increase room service tips for waiters in hotels. Much to researchers' surprise, all the waiters had to do was start with a positive comment. When the hotel guests open their door, all they need to say is good morning and then give a positive weather forecast for the day. So just doing that significantly increased their tips. So how does that help us? Well, you never want to start your sales call talking about the fact that, oh, you've had a bad morning because you had a water pipe break, or you got stuck in traffic, or somebody cut you off. Do not start off your conversations with something negative. Start it out with something positive. Talk about the great weather, something you did fun with your family on the weekend, or favorite sports teams winning, something that gets people in a positive mindset. Because remember, people follow your lead. If you're going to be grumpy, they're going to be grumpy. So if you're going to be in a good mood, they will tend to try to move towards that good mood. Make sense? Number two, don't badmouth competitors during sales calls. Now, the funny thing is, the whole 21-point checklist is about creating distrust with their current advisor, having them understand their other advisor is either not covering things because number one, he doesn't know, or number two, he doesn't care, or number three, he's done it on purpose to screw them. That's what the whole 21-point checklist is. The first 7 are about, hey, he doesn't know these things. The next couple of things are, hey, he just he doesn't really care about you. Didn't do these things on purpose, but he didn't do them because he just doesn't care about you. And then the rest, the other 14 or so, are about well, not 14, I guess 12 are about he did this on purpose. He withheld information from you that, or he or she withheld information from you that if you had known, you would have made a different decision. And because of the decision you made, because of the decision your advisor pushed you towards, that advisor is making more money, which would be fine if it did not hurt you, but it isn't, but it does hurt you. So it isn't fine. They pushed you towards these other decisions that you made by withholding information so that they could make more money, and by doing so have caused you to make less money. I mean, that's the whole 21-point checklist. So it's saying here, don't badmouth competitors during sales calls. Do we badmouth competitors, guys? It says the biggest self-sabotaging mistake during sales calls is to speak ill of a competitor. Due to a psychological quirk called spontaneous transference, research has shown that whenever you say bad things about someone else, your audience will put those things on you. Do we ever say something bad about our competitors? Yay or nay? Why or no? That's right, Dale. We do not. We never say anything bad about our. Now, where I've seen it happen to guys is at a first meeting. At a first meeting where they're gathering information about the client's current investments, and maybe they'll say they're looking at the variable annuity or they're looking at the investments, and they say, yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. My guy never calls me, and the only time he ever calls me is when he wants something from me, when and I don't really trust what he says, because it just seems like he's always pushing things. What should you do if they say that at a first meeting? Because what we've been taught to do is say is in traditional selling is they've given us a toehold now. They've said they don't like the guy, so we need to support that feeling that they don't like the guy. So we jump in and say, oh yeah, no, that's a shame. I can't believe he would do that. I never do that with my clients. I always make sure I communicate with them. And no. If they ever badmouth their current advisor, what do we do? Do we jump on the bandwagon? No, we just say, oh, well, I'm sorry to hear that. I guess not knowing what's going on in his mind, I can't really speak to why that might be happening, but I understand your concern on that. That's thanks for sharing that. Do not jump on the bandwagon and say, oh, I can't believe he did that. I never do that. That is not the time to sell, because a lot of times what they're doing, what these clients are doing, because you see here it's saying research has shown that whenever you say bad things about someone else, your audience puts the same traits on you. So a lot of times, either consciously or subconsciously, your client is fishing. They're fishing. They're throwing out the bait, and then click, 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 click. They're trying to reel you in. Click, see if you take the bait. Click, click, click. They'll say bad things about their current guy to see if you're gonna jump on and say bad things about their current guy. And they're like, aha, he's not here to help me. He's here to actually sell me. He's just saying things. So don't fall for it. Never say a bad word about their advisor, even if they are saying bad things about their current advisor. Does that make sense? If you say your competitor is low quality and unreliable, your potential client can't help but associate those traits with you, even if they know logically you're talking about a third party. So basically, like they say here, it's no comment. So we just say, oh, wow, I'm sorry to hear that. Not being able to understand what's going on in your advisor's mind. I'm not really able to speak to that. I'm sorry to have that experience. That's it. And then move on. Make sense? Don't badmouth competitors during sales calls. And we never do. We never say a bad word, bad syllable, or a bad utterance about the current advisor. Only they can say something bad about the current advisor. Use awesome labels. Assigning a positive label or trait, like having high intelligence or being a good person, to people generally compels them to live up to that label. In one study about fundraising, researchers told an average donors that they were in fact among the highest donors. Oops, I want to go back here. And of course, that they gave more, being that they're part of the highest donors. So how do we use this? What is the one tool where we really leverage this concept? Give them awesome labels to live up to. Where do we use that in the 5Q system? Think APE. Where in the APE process do we use this? That's right. Empower, empower, empower. That's right, Nick. That's right, Dale. Empower them. So what we do is we say, boy, I can't, you gave that, I can't believe that you gave that answer. I've been asking that question probably a couple dozen times in the last month. Not one person has stated it in that way. I don't know if you study this or if you just have great intuition, or I'm not sure how you came up with that answer, but I'm telling you, that is the best answer I've heard in months. And in fact, the last month, it's the only time I've heard the correct answer for that. So you move to the front of the class. Wow. So whether you studied this or you just have an innate intuition on how these things work, kudos to you. That is exactly right. You should be patting yourself on the back for understanding that concept. So let me ask you a question there. Did I mention, do you know what they just said there? Do you know what I'm empowering them about? Do you have any clue what they just said that I'm empowering them about? Whether they said inflation was going to go up or down, or markets are going to go up or down, or they should be taking more risk or less. Do you have any clue what they said with me empowering them there? No. So I'm not empowering their answer. I'm not telling them how great their answer is. I'm not telling them their answer, providing proof that their answer was correct. I'm saying that they personally are above average. They personally are ahead of the class. They personally, and do you see how when you get good at that, if you practice that and get good at that, you can use that, whether they say the market's going to go up or down, whether they say they're going to take more risk or less risk, whether they say correlation is about diversification. You can use that positive, empowering phrases and the type of words that I was using there, regardless of what their answer is, because it's not about telling them their answer is right. It's telling them about they're of high intelligence. Does that make sense? And when you do that, what happens? They're going to want to answer more of your questions, number one. And remember, that's the whole part of the system, is getting them to answer questions. So when you empower them, it's going to answer their questions. Also, when somebody tells you, because remember, first of all, did I flatter them? This is the biggest problem that advisors have with this technique of empowering. Did I flatter them with that? Was I flattering them with that? So Nick, you say no. Why? Tom says no. So Tom, why am I not flattering them when I do it that way? What am I doing differently by the way that I approach giving them awesome labels here? Genuine versus puffery. Yeah, I could, but some people could claim that was puffery. So I agree with you, but they can't tell whether it's genuine or puffery unless I do one thing. So let's say that I'm at a bar. I've used this analogy over and over and over, but I like to use the same analogy so it clicks in your brain. I'm in the bar and I want to pick up a girl, and I see her and I go up to her and say, "Boy, you're pretty, you're beautiful. You must have fallen from the heavens, because you're an angel incarnate. You are the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. Man, you're just so." If I do that, what does she know? Is that empowering or is that flattery? If somebody comes up to me and says, Mike, you're smart, you're smart, oh, you're smart, I can't believe how smart you are, you're just so smart, I can't believe, is that empowering me or is that flattering me? That's flattering. Flattering, flattering, flattering. So what's the difference? If instead I go up to the girl and I say, well, I'm sorry to bother you, but can I ask you, where did you get those shoes? They are awesome. My sister loves shoes. I mean, it's her thing, and her birthday's coming up. And I've been looking over and over and over, and all I see is the same old boring shoes. And those shoes are awesome. Do you mind could you tell me where you got those? Because I would love, and I would love to go get my sister a pair of those shoes because she would go nutso over those. It's obvious that you have a good taste and you know what's going on. Do you mind? Where did you get those shoes? Now, is that flattery or is that empowering her? That's empowering her. Why? That's right, Nick. Specificity, 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 specificity. If I compliment them on one particular thing, then it's like, oh, because and let me ask you a question about this. That girl, what's she going to talk to her friends about the guy who went up, if she even talks to her friends about this, about the guy who came out and said, you're pretty, we're pretty. Is she going to even bring that up? Is she going to just basically dismiss that guy and forget him immediately? Compare that to how long will she remember that guy commenting on her shoes? How long will she remember that, guys? How long will she remember commenting on her shoes? Short time or long time? Long time. So when we empower, we find a particular thing, a particular answer. We just don't say, boy, you're really smart. No, when they give us an answer that is a good answer that we can empower them on, we jump in and tell them that how smart they were, not in general, but on that particular answer, they were above the class. They were ahead of the class. They're above average. They knew more than anybody I've talked to in the last 3 months. See, about that particular thing. That is believable. That is believable. And when should we be looking at empowering somebody? Number one, we empower them. If they give us an objection, the first thing we do is we tell them they're right. And we spend 2 or 3 minutes telling them, wow, you are unbelievably brilliant for that. Number two, where do we do it? As early as possible in the meeting. As early as possible in the meeting. When you meet with somebody, I don't care if it's a first meeting, second meeting, or third meeting, you should be looking for the first possible moment to empower them. Why? What do we think about people who empower us? We love them. We love them. It's a great way of developing rapport if done correctly, in that you're using a specific instance to tell them they're above average, not just in general, but using a specific instance. So when you find that thing, as early as possible in the meeting, empower them. It's going to put them on your side because you've proven you're on their side. So for when there's an objection, we empower them. As early as possible in the meeting, we empower them and assign that positive label to them. And then the third place we empower them is if they give us an answer. If I've got the script down, I've got the 20-point checklist script down, but sometimes well, let me ask you a question. With the script, do I sometimes have to ask 15 questions to get to where I want to go, or get them to understand where I want to go in the script? Do I sometimes have to ask 12, 15, 20 questions, little questions that get them to understand in their own words what the point is that I want them to understand? Does that happen occasionally, yay or nay? Or not occasionally, does that happen quite often in a lot of the 21 points? Yes, it does. So what if they, because they're following along so closely, they get to the conclusion, I'm at question number 5, and all of a sudden, before I even get to question number 20, they already get that point. They jumped 15 questions and got that point immediately. Guess what I'm going to do there? I'm going to immediately jump on and tell them how awesome they are for doing that, because I want them to encourage them to be thinking ahead of me and coming to their own conclusion instead of me having to bread trail them there. If they can leap from question 5 all the way to question 20 and get the point I was trying to make in their own words, I'm going to empower them there. So the 3 times we empower people, number 1, they give us an objection. First thing I do is spend 2 or 3 minutes telling them why they're right. Number 2, as early in the meeting as possible, to get them liking me and liking themselves and wanting to answer more questions. And number 3, if they are following along so closely that they're coming to conclusions well before I'm even to that point, I'm going to empower them as well. Does that make sense? So empowering is the biggest tool you have in the 5Q system. If 2 guys, there's 2 guys here, one has the 21-point checklist memorized, the other is awesome at empowering. Who will make more money? The guy who is the 21-point checklist memorized or the guy who's awesome at empowering? Who will make more money? That's right. The guy who's awesome at empowering. Because empowering creates unbelievable rapport when done properly. So yes. Well, here's what happens. If you're awesome at empowering, you'll never lose a sale. You will never lose a sale if you're awesome at empowering. The problem is if all you are is awesome at empowering, it might take you 10 meetings or 6 months to finally get them to move their money. They'll never kick you out of their lives because they love you. They want to be around you because they feel good when they're around you. So they'll never kick you out of their lives. You'll finally get that sale. You just don't know if it's going to be at the 5th meeting, the 10th meeting, or the 20th meeting with them. What the 21-point checklist does is it changes it from I don't know when I'm going to get that meeting to when I'm going to get them to move the money to I can get them to move that money by the 3rd meeting, all of their money by the 3rd meeting. So the 21-point checklist speeds up the process, but it's empowering that allows the process to occur. Because if you're awesome at the 21-point checklist, but you're lousy at empowering, you're going to lose. You're still going to get a lot of people because the 21-point checklist is that powerful, but you're going to lose the more difficult people. So combining the empowering with the knowledge of the 21-point checklist is what makes you or gives you the ability to close every single person you want. Because remember, we have a 94% closing ratio over 25 years of using the process. The other 6% isn't because we couldn't get those people, it's because the advisor decided that person was such a pain in the butt, I don't want them. It wasn't because they couldn't get them, it's because they didn't want them. If you're awesome at empowering and you use the 21-point checklist, you're going to close 100% of people, and you're going to decide on the 6% that you don't want to. If you're just awesome at the 21-point checklist, you're going to close 50%, 60% of them. But you'll miss those other 40% that are more difficult. Empowering allows you to leverage the 21-point checklist to its highest ability. Make sense? Number 4, set the agenda and stay in control. Do we do that with the 21-point checklist? Yes. If you follow the scripts, do we have an agenda? Yes. Do we stay in control with the 20-point checklist script? Yes. When I get a sales calls that I've set up for meeting requests, I always like to articulate clear agendas and ask the prospect if it's okay with them. Do we always let the client know what's going to happen at the next meeting? Do we ever have a client leave a meeting without having them say in their own words what's going to happen at the next meeting? No. We always end the meeting with the client telling us what's going to happen in the next meeting. Don't we? Think about the first meeting when we end with the 5 USPs. We say, on a 1 to 5, what do you want? On a 1 to 5 on this USP, where are you? 1 or 5? On a 1 to 5 on this USP. So we do all 5, and they say they're 5s on all 5 USPs or 6 USPs. They want those things. Then we say, well, what would happen if we didn't do that? Didn't follow through on those? What would happen if we waited? Why does it make sense to go through the hassle of digging out and finding your powers of attorney and making copies of them and bring that? Why does it make sense to go through the hassles of doing that to bringing it to me and investing another an hour and a half? See, we ask them those 3 questions so they can explain to me why it makes sense to come back to the next meeting. At the end of the second meeting, after the 21-point checklist, we say, so do you have a clear picture now where you were when we first started? Yes. Do you see any changes that need to be made? Any changes made? Yes. So where do you see me fitting into those changes? I'm making them tell me. So at the next meeting, then, there's been a lot of stuff we covered today. We'll give time to the dust to settle. Give time for you to come with good quality questions. Then we'll get together and move at your own pace at the next meeting. So what are we going to do at the next meeting? Well, we're going to move, get any questions I have answered. And generally at that point, what are they saying? Well, we want to work with you, but if you do it right. But do you see how at the end of every meeting, we're letting them know what's going to happen? And what did I tell them was going to happen in the next meeting? At the end of the 21-point checklist, they say, and we're going to go ahead and move all that money. Or they say, and we'll just move forward at your pace. See, I'm allowing them to feel like they're in control there, right? I'm going to let them make the decision when they're going to move the money. So set the agenda. And with our system, with the 20-point checklist system, this is an agenda that has been tested hundreds of thousands of times successfully in the 90s, in the 2000s, in the 2010s, and in the 2020s. It's been tested. Why? So why, guys? Why has our process worked in 1990s, 2010s, and the 2020s with the same level of success? Why? Why do we have the same closure ratio now as we had 30 years ago? People always want to be right. Yes or no? Yeah, they always want to be right. This whole process is designed allowing them to be right. We're never telling, selling, preaching, teaching. We always let them come to their own conclusions. And did people like to be screwed by their advisor in the 1990s? Did people like to be screwed by their advisor in the 2000s? Did people like to be screwed by their advisor in the 2010s? Did people like to be screwed by their advisor in the 2020s? No. So when you ask them questions where they come to their own conclusion, the guy is screwing them, guess what? It works. That's what the whole agenda is. And how do we stay in control? We have scripts that have been set up for you that have been time tested that work exactly as they're laid out. Number 5, stand up. Allow your passion and excitement for the product to come through your sales calls. Make something the prospect can be infected by. In my experience, sales reps can achieve this by standing up and doing sales calls in a main common space instead of hiding in the cubicle and conference room. Do you think I agree with this one? Do you think I agree with this science-backed methodology of selling? Get excited about your product. I got one. I need more answers than one. Why for yes, I agree with this, or no, I don't agree with this? Y or N? Y or N? Yes or no? I do not agree with this. Where in the process do I ever get passionate? In fact, think about the FIA presentation. What do in the Warren Buffett option, do I ever say it's the best thing to buy? When we talk about rates of return, do I say it gives you the highest rate of return? When the market's up, do we say it gets a highest rate of return? No, we say that we have the client come to the conclusion. No, equities have the highest rate of return. And downtimes, when it has the highest rate of return, fixed rates of return. So when does an FIA ever have the highest rate of return? Never. It never does. Does that sound like I'm excited about that particular product? I go through the liquidity of it. Do I ever say it's completely liquid and you get a 10% withdrawal? And do I ever do that? No. I have them come to a conclusion. Well, it does have some liquidity problems, but the fact is because I would never use it I would never spend more than 10%. I'd never spend more than the 10%. They have 300,000 in there. They say I'll never spend more than 30,000 a year out of it. I won't give my kids more than 30,000 a year. I'm not going to take more than one $30,000 vacation every year. I'm not going to. So we have them say, yeah, it's not perfectly liquid, but I guess that wouldn't be a problem because I would never use it for that. Then we talk about fees. Did we say it has no fees? No, we talk about, hey, it has huge fees. When the market makes 20%, you might only make 10. So when the better the market does, the better you do, the higher the fees are. Now, the nice thing is, if their market does nothing, you pay no fees. And if the market goes backwards, the company covers your losses. But do I ever tell them how great it is? Or am I always saying, well, it does have problems, but let's compare it simply to what you're doing now and what you also could do besides this. Equities, Warren Buffett, and guaranteed. Which one is best? Do I promote it as being the best thing in the world? No. I'm always out there saying, let's lay out the facts. Let's lay out the facts and you make the decision. Let's lay out the facts on return. You make the decision. Let's lay out the facts on liquidity. You make the decision. Let's lay out the facts on fees. You make the decision. Because when you find somebody who's excited about that product, what do you think? When you're buying something, you're buying a car and that guy is going super effusive about buying a car. You're buying a TV and there's 15 different TVs there, but that guy is really excited about one of the TVs. What are you thinking? What are you thinking? 15 different TVs there, and the guy's really excited, walking around and pacing and just super excited about that one TV. What's that tell you? I know what I'm thinking. Am I thinking that he makes the most money on that TV sale? That's right, Tom, commission. That's what I'm thinking. So I disagree with this. Allow your passion and excitement for the product to come through in your sales calls. Make it something the prospect can be affected by. In my experience, sales, I believe this, I know this is data. I know this is research backed, but I don't think this has to do with the real world today. And are people getting more or less jaded as time goes by? More or less suspicious as time goes by? More or less accusatory in any ad or somebody promoting something? How many of you are, if you're on social media now, well, I won't get into that. It's a whole different can of worms. But the fact is that people, I don't want, who do I want to get excited about the product? What is our whole system? First of all, with the 21-point checklist, I want them to get excited. If I was getting excited about their guy screwing them, what would happen to the deal? At the 21-point checklist, if I was getting excited about their guy screwing them, who would get the deal? I would lose it. They would stay with their current guy. If the FIA presentation, if I'm excited about the FIA presentation about how great it is, great it is, I'm going to lose it. Who has to be excited about it? Yes, Tom, they do. The client does. The client does. The client does. Our system is set up not for me to get excited. Our system is set up. Here's the thing. Write this down. Write this down. Anything that should be said by them. Anything that needs to be said should be said by them, the client. Anything that should not be said or is not worth saying, don't say it. So if everything that's worth saying should be said by them and anything not worth saying shouldn't be said, where does that leave a place for us to say anything? It doesn't, because we should not be saying anything. See, allow your passion, excitement, the product to come through in your sales call. Who's making the presentation here then? Who's talking about how great the product is here? The client or the salesperson with this particular rule? They're saying the salesperson is. No. There's only one person that people agree with 100% of the time, and who's that? There's only one person people believe 100% of the time, and who's that? Who do they believe all the time? Themselves. That's right, themselves. They don't believe us, they believe themselves. So quit trying to be excited about your product. Instead, have them explain how the product works to you. Have them explain why the product is the best fit for what they need to you. Have them get excited about the product to you, not vice versa. See, no, this is not right. Use emphasis wisely. Highlighting certain words or phrases is an effective communication tool that helps you convey your message better. Focus on your inflection, especially on your voicemails. Former Bedrock data describes putting makeup on your calls. By adding inflection to the right words, you sound more passionate and articulate, in turn, more convincing. So do I recommend changing your tonation do I sometimes recommend that you talk quietly and apologetically? And do I sometimes have you put more punch in your, so intonation is an important tool that you're using, because an hour and a half 21-point checklist where you're droning on and on and on about how things work and you're going to lose them. So part of what we do, and in today's world, it's more important than anything, is infotainment. And we do that with inflections in our voice, with our hand gestures, with our props. Simply simplify your options. Too many options can confuse buyers. At the FIA presentation, how many options do we give clients? At the FIA presentation, how many options do we give the clients? Come on, guys, how many options do I give the clients? 3. Equities, guaranteed, and Warren Buffett option. Equities, guaranteed, Warren Buffett option. Which one do you want? By the end of it, they say they want the Warren Buffett option. Then I tell them, do you want us to build? And then I give them 2 options. Should we build it ourselves, or should we work with a company that can use the economies of scale? And what do they say? They want to use the economies of scale. Then I said, would you want me to go and find that product the best? Because there's dozens of them out there. Do you want to look at all of them, or do you want me to find the best one for you? And what do they say? When you ask them, so remember, I start with the FIA. Do you want an equity? Do you want a guaranteed, or do you want the Warren Buffett? They say Warren Buffett. Then I say, okay, do you want me to build? Do you want us to build this together? Do you want a company that has nothing but experts, money, data, and the economies of scale to build it for you? We want that. Okay. Do you want me to go look at all the dozens of different ones out there and find the best one for you, or do you want to look at all the dozens out there? And what do they say? So are we simplifying their options at that point? 3 options down to 2 options down to 1 option. Does that make sense? When describing a product, reduce the number of options. That's what we do. We start with 3, then go to 2. 3, equities, guaranteed, Warren Buffett. 2, want to build it ourselves, or should we hire a company to do that for us? Okay. And then 3, do you want to look at all the gazillions out there, or you want me to find the best one? Find the best one. 3, 2, 1. Adopt smart product positioning. The way you frame your product often spells the difference between a closed deal and a lost opportunity. This is, again, with the FIA, we position it. Is it going to give you the best rate of return? No, but it prevents mistakes. Is it going to be the most completely liquid? No, but it's more liquid than a money manager. Is it going to give you the, is it without fees? No, but it's the most fair way of charging fees. So that's how that's positioning of that product. They want something that's mistake proof, that's more liquid than our money manager, and that pays less fees. Is an FIA, guys, more liquid than a money management account? I'm not talking about a money market account. I'm talking about a money management account. I've only got one answer here. I got 2 answers. Good. Is an FIA more liquid? Can I have a client within 5 to 10 minutes tell me that an FIA with a 10% surrender charge is more liquid than their Fisher account, is more liquid than their BlackRock money management account, is more liquid than any money manager you have out there with a 1% fee, 0.5% fee, doesn't matter. Can I have them say within 5 to 10 minutes, tell me why it's not a little more liquid, but a lot more liquid? An annuity with a 10% surrender charge is more liquid than a money management account. Can I have them do that? I've only got 2 yeses. Come on, guys. Can I have them do that? A little less liquid or a lot less liquid? Or a little more, I'm sorry, a little more liquid or a lot more liquid? A lot more liquid. If you're scratching your head saying, how the heck, guys, you'd better go and learn the FIA presentation. I've been in rooms with 30 advisors who all had a mindset to prove Mike the arrogant SOB, take him off his high horse, and I'm going to go after him. And I've sat them and said, okay, let's go through it then. And I have walked them through the liquidity portion of the FIA presentation. And have I ever, I guess I probably stopped doing those about 5 years ago. So in 25 years of doing those, did I ever have an advisor be able to argue with me about the, because he's got all of his peers there too. Did in 25 years, and me coach probably over 1,000 advisors, all of them who would like to have taken me off my arrogant high horse in front of them, ever be able to argue themselves out of the script where I walk through liquidity and it's more liquid than money managers? Did I ever have anybody able to do that in 25 years? Not one. Why? Because it's all based on logic. Just asking those questions. So look at how, again, this is just an example of how we do it. This is the return portion of the FIA presentation. We never say the Warren Buffett option is the best. We do say it's mistake proof, but we never say it's the best. We have the client tell us, I'd rather have the thing that is never the best if I can avoid having the thing that's never the worst. Get emotional. The key finding of behavioral economics is that people rarely hinge on their decision. What emotion do we tap into in our presentation, guys? What is the emotion that we tap into unbelievably well with the 21-point checklist? If you do it right, what emotion is one of the most visceral emotions we have? What is that emotion? Anger at their advisor. Good job, guys. Anger at their advisor. Clarify the product's value. Make it easier for prospects to assess a product's objective, emotion-based, and objective fact-based. Do we do that with this presentation? Yes. And again, I'm not clarifying. Who's clarifying? The client is. The client is. Use storytelling. And do we use storytelling in the 21-point checklist? Do we use storytelling in the FIA presentation? Yes, it's all about storytelling. If you haven't looked at the fixed index annuity presentation in a while, you need to go back and look at it. If you did a seminar with the FIA presentation, how many people do you think you would be signing up for appointments to do FIAs do the Warren Buffett option with you? Empower customers. Again, we have a whole tool called Empower. There's a time for everything. In life, as in sales, timing matters. Depending on your industry and specific prospect you are engaging, the proper timing for making calls, doing presentations, sending emails, scheduling meetings, attempting to close it exists. So I guess this is the case, but I'm confused on how we're supposed to figure out what that timing is. So I would, the research shows that there is timing. I just don't know how. I'm being in the industry 40 years and coaching 25 years. I don't know how to figure that out. So I'm going to throw this out with the baby with the bathwater out with that. Serve hot, not cold. Practically speaking, cold calling is becoming a relic of the past. With business intelligence, software, social media, and other digital resources, approaching a prospect without a clue about who they are and what they need is becoming grossly desperate, if not outright stupid, move to mistake. And guys, we do, I mean, Facebook, Instagram, you can do research on clients, but here's the thing. Do you think I would bother doing that? No. Why? The 21-point checklist in our scripts. First of all, let's talk about advisors. I've had advisors in their 20s make $1 million with the 21-point checklist. I've had advisors in their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, their 60s, and even their 70s make $1 million with a year with the 21-point checklist. So does age matter? As far as the client, as far as the advisor is concerned, using the system doesn't matter. No. I've had advisors who are shy. I've had advisors who are analytical. I've had advisors who are extroverts. I've had advisors who are more feeling-based, all of them had made more than $1 million a year. So it doesn't matter whether they're shy or not shy, whether they're outgoing or whether they're analytical or feeling. No, it doesn't. Okay, how about clients? If we close 94% of clients, or really 100%, but we decide we don't want it with the 6%, does it really matter then whether the client himself is analytical or feelings-based or is extrovert or introvert? Does it matter if the client is? No. Why? Because the client directs the conversation the way they want to go. All we do is ask the questions, and then the client answers them in the manner that they want to answer them. So if they're more feeling-based, they'll answer more feeling-based. If they're more analytical, they're going to answer more analytical. If they're more extrovert, they're going to answer more extroverted-wise. If they're introvert, they're going to answer more introverted-wise. So the system is built so this does not matter. It works for any advisor that follows the system. It works for any client. Now, there is one problem here. Why do I recommend we only use this with system with retirees or people who are at least 60 years old? Because if you talk to a 40-year-old about survivor's guides, about beneficiaries, about powers of attorney, do they think those things apply to them? Have they had enough life experience? Now, yeah, we could argue that they do, but have they had enough life experience to think that any of those non-financial things really even apply to them? Or are they Superman and they're going to live forever, be healthy forever, and none of those things apply? Well, then we've just lost the foot in the door technique. With a younger client, we just lost them. The whole non-financial portion is thrown out the window. And the non-financial portion is important because it sets you up as somebody who creates value, somebody who understands them, somebody who's giving them thousands of dollars worth of value at no cost to them. So when you're 60-year-old, you've seen people who needed power of attorney. You've seen people who've died. You've seen people who have needed quality of life director. You've seen families lose a parent and need the beneficiary. So by 60, you've seen those things. Those things are important. Younger, you don't. So the only thing that limitation on the 21-point checklist is the age, not of the advisor, but of the client. They need to be at least 60 years old for them to make to understand these things make sense to them, or these things are concerns for them. Observe, record, and predict. Do we do this? If you're a professional salesman, you do. Why? How did I create the system? By recording myself, by listening to my presentation to people, by then finding the one or two big things in that meeting that I would correct before the next meeting. Constantly getting better, 15-minute drills, listening to my tapes, critiquing my tapes with my client meetings to get better. This is how you know you're professional. If you record your meetings and if you use those meetings to get better before the next one. Much of science involved careful observation in nature, recording your findings and making predictions. Guys, that's how I created, that's why I made all the money. And all the guys that have made $1 million or more, they record their meetings. Make it about you too. Selling is a two-way street. Even if you take care of your customers but neglect honing your skills and attitude as a sales practitioner, you won't go as high as you could. 15-minute drill. Hone your selling skills. Make sense? Customers warm up to trust business contacts who are masters of the craft, right upside down, be able to do a mock tax return right in front of them. Very best, what you do to customers will see that solutions are peerless and that they will significant value when they move to another advisor. Remember using at the 21-point checklist, when they find out that they're spending $7,500 too much per year, counting that money out in $100 bills in front of them. These are things that make you look like a professional. Mock tax returns, writing upside down, having powerful props to then make a point for you. These are things that make it. These are how you become a professional. These are how you can make $1 million to $2 million a year using the system. Does that make sense? So was general we're coaching calls like this where we're talking about general sales skills and how we apply them in the 5Q system. Is this helpful to you to see on a regular basis? Or is it more helpful to dive into the particular scripts and only work on the scripts? Or is big picture work as well as individual scripts? Well, and you can also put that into any feedback. If you want me to dive into individual scripts more, we can do that, absolutely. Otherwise, I like to go out and look at the big picture so you understand there's a lot of reasons we do what we do. Make sense? Awesome, possum. Then you guys have a great rest of the weekend. We'll talk to you all next week. Thanks.